I think it's fixed. I
All
don't hear
right,
it now.
all right. Now that we've got it fixed, welcome back, everybody. This is the Entry Hazard Podcast. We are a competitive Pokemon podcast. I still don't have a good tagline for this, but we're working on it. It's a work in progress. So this is what I have up right now on stream. This is something that Aaron Zhang posted. Oh, not the overlay. I need to fix this subregion real quick because it seems to be cut off. Why is it still cutting off? Oh, that's why. All right, hold on. I got this. I pretend to be a professional. All right, there we go. So this
I'll be back.
this is an image, and I'll put this in chat for you guys. I put it in chat earlier, but I'll post it for you guys again so that you guys can open it and take a look at it. This is the Worlds from the last 3 years. It's the top 5 teams from the last 3 years. So 2015, 2014, and 2013. So I do want to backpedal and say that in 2013 and 2014, there were not as many Japanese players in VGC. At least not as Worlds. So in Worlds, there were not as many Japanese players, and I think it's a pretty well-known fact that Japanese players are some of the best in the world in VGC. If you ever take a look at the PGL ladder, you're going to see the Japanese players are toward the top. 2014 was fantastic. There was a lot of variety. It was really exciting. And then 2015, I think almost all of us agree that this was possibly the most boring Worlds ever.
I mean, you've literally got 1, 2, 3 Pokemon that are not copied on the teams in any way.
Oh, yeah. So basically,
every team's got a Kang, every team's got a Landorus, all but one has a Sylveon. Actually, I'm sorry, there's 4 teams, 4 Pokemon, because Sylveon's not copied on there twice.
Yep. So
Sylveon,
the way
and Tyranitar.
The common themes here: Kang, Genie, Pink, Fire. Those are all the commonalities.
Except the third team in there.
What?
Oh, are you going Pink and Sylveon?
Yeah, Pink is Sylveon. I'm putting Sylveon and Cresselia together because I can. Something borrowed, something blue. I need a Kang. I need a Lando. I need a Kang. I need a Genie. I need a Fire. Something pink. Right? I don't have a good rhyme there, but so
And
there was a lot going on Twitter after Worlds. Okay, and I'm going to call Shofu out on this one because I had to unfollow him on Twitter because of his tirade. He was making comments at people. About, like, people were complaining about the fact that this was the most boring Worlds ever. Okay? When you have Aaron Zhang tweeting about his conversation with Sejun Park, the defending world champion, about how they're not entertained by Worlds. And Shofu, all credit to Shofu, in Gen 5, he was a Gen 5 competitive powerhouse. All right? He was one of the most popular YouTube content creators for Gen 5 battles ever. Like, Gen 5 battles are synonymous with Shofu. I think that's a fair statement. So I do respect Shofu's opinions in a lot of places, but I'm going to respectfully disagree with him here slightly, because I do agree that you bring the best team to win. I do agree with that. I don't think anybody disagrees with there's money on the line, I do what it takes to win, and I'm going to win with what I think works. And sometimes there's homogeny, a lot of similarities between teams because those are things that work. Fire types are pretty strong defensively in the current meta. Landorus is a polarizing feature of the current metagame. Mega Kangaskhan, polarizing feature of the current metagame. But
One thing I was surprised about, though, is that you didn't have, looking at the teams again, you didn't have anything to really take advantage of those intimidates like a melodic or something that had competitive or something like that, defiant boosts, which was kind of strange to me.
But melodic in the format, if you played it right, it's neutralized pretty quick. Especially with, like, a Thunderous or...
The Japanese Nats results, I know you can Google the finals, and if you watch the Japanese national championships, this is responding to chat, sorry guys. If you watch the Japanese national championships, it basically was the final bracket of Worlds in short. Like, it was basically Mega Kang Genie's Heatran. Mega Kang Genie's Heatran. That was basically Japanese nationals. So if that's what you want, that's what you'll get is Japanese. I mean, it's just. So I want to backpedal for a second because Will, you and I made some predictions about Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember all of the predictions that we made, but one of the big things that you and I agreed on was Weather Wars.
And there was none.
No Weather Wars. Not at all. And Will, are you surprised by that?
No, because they didn't need weather. They had overpowered bull. To be fair, that's the only way to explain it. Like, no, like playing with that, I get it. Like, you play to win. At that level, you play to win. Yeah.
Right.
For somebody like me, I'd go on autopilot and get bored and be bopped out real quick. I need something with a difficulty level. If that makes any sense to you.
Yeah.
And then that's where a lot of us are. And I feel like the problem is, like, if we saw any of the American teams, they brought straight trash, though.
Yeah.
Like, at least the closest team that was, like, moderately fun to watch was, like, Blake Hopper's team. And I'm not the biggest fan of his, like, team-building process whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of, like, disappointed, like, with, like, dudes like Colin Hire and dudes like that. Like, they just thrown out. Like, freaking Paul Chua was like, I'm building a team the night before. Like, I get it. Why don't you just use the team you used yesterday? It's bulky as hell.
I feel bad for Paul Chua.
Conkelder? Can somebody please bring in Conkelder? Because that rapes damn near most of these teams.
I do feel bad for Paul Chua. Paul Chua went like 0-3 the first 3 rounds, and I think he ended up with 2 wins. So I think he went like 5-2. But Josh, what's your opinion on this? Are you surprised that there's no weather war? What surprised you about Worlds?
Well, after seeing the final bracket for Masters, I definitely wasn't surprised there wasn't weather because, like we've just discussed a second ago, every one of them is going to have a Mega Kang. Every one of them is going to have a Landorus. Charizard Y is not going to be in there. There was one Tyranitar, but
I imagine that. I don't remember his team mostly because once the final bracket started coming through, I kind of zoned out, to be honest. Bless you. But I think that was probably the start of Tyranitar. You only get one, Will.
Oh, shut up.
I will say that Cybertron, Aaron Zhang, I was kind of annoyed with him when I saw something that he posted on Twitter about the Japanese teams. He said that his team, and I said this earlier in chat, but his team, he said that his team battles well against the teams that the Japanese brought.
Yeah.
Well, you shouldn't just build your team around what you think the Japanese are going to bring because they're not the only ones there. He said he never even faced one in the. I want to say he didn't face one in the Swiss or in the. In the Swiss.
Yeah, he didn't get to the bracket.
So, you built your whole team around facing the Japanese, and you didn't even face a single one, and you went. I think he went 4-3 in Swiss. So he wasn't even going to make top 16.
Right.
Yeah, and I heard Wolfie Glick talking to somebody. I don't know who it is. somebody in the community, and he was just saying like, dude, there were so many times I wish I just brought Parrish Trap because I could have done it so much better.
You know, I I do feel a little bad for Wolf Glick, because Wolfie on stream, we all saw him end up against Parafusion team, and there's something in everybody's heart where we watch not Perish Trap, where we watch Parafusion, and I think everybody's heart just kind of sinks when you see Parafusion.
Yep.
Because it's not that it's a terrible strategy, but it's also not a consistent strategy. And I think that most of the Pokemon community kind of agrees. Like, there were a couple times, like in finals, the finals for Worlds, right? What was that game? Was that game 2? Game 1 or 2? There was a little bit of swagger T-Wave going on, right? And by a little, I mean a lot. And that's how he won, right? He won because of swagger T-Wave. And I think this is kind of like, this is going to sound super racist, but it is kind of an Asian meta type of thing. So if you're watching StarCraft, I'm going to cross-contaminate here with StarCraft and Pokemon. But if you watch StarCraft, a lot of the Korean players have very risky builds that they play in StarCraft. If you watch Pokemon, Japanese players are willing to take risks. They are willing to take more risks than I think American players are, where American players will shy away from Parafusion because we think we're better than that or something. But it's mostly because a lot of us, and I am very guilty of that, where I want things that are going to be consistently good. I don't want to take many risks at all when I'm playing Pokemon, except when I'm being, stupid and trolling. But we were having a conversation right before the stream started, or right before the podcast started, where, Will, you were talking about going for Gyro Ball on Ferrothorn, and I was suggesting that, no, I'd rather go with Iron Head because it's more consistent. I don't know. End of the day, I'm really upset seeing Wolf Glick go down the way that he did, because that one loss, I really think that hurt him. You could see the Glick, like the Wolf Rage. Wolfie Rage is kind of interesting to watch from a bystander, but
he just looks annoyed.
Yeah, but you can see that there's something like bubbling back behind there, where you expect that he's just gonna pop at some moment. But
no, I said like I don't exactly know what team he brought, but I know
he had a Char-X team. Is the big thing. It was Char-X.
Avos, see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but listen.
Stop hating. Stop hating on everything I do.
Late. It's too late. I already hated on Char-X on your team.
You're garbage.
Whatever. You're garbage. I didn't see you at Worlds.
True. But
you at least saw my name pop up on stream because I had some tweets that were put out there. What about you?
I'm the unofficial national champion.
You're not a national champion.
Unofficially.
But one of the things that really frustrates me, I think it frustrates all of us, that there was so much homogeny. And so, to get on my Worlds tirade here, I want to mention a few things, because I think that Worlds did a lot of things really well, and I think that Pokemon did a lot of things kind of poorly, and I think that some of these things contributed to the homogeny in the end result. So, the first thing that I want to mention is the production value of Pokemon. I think that Pokemon streams, Pokemon paid for streams, have been top-notch this year. Even as recently as last year, there was a lot of dead air. There was a lot of dead space that... okay, sorry. Skype froze for a second, and I wanted to make sure that we weren't going to lose the call. But even as early as last year, there was a lot of dead air on stream for high-level tournaments, where it was just this splash screen, kind of like what I have between things, where we had like next battle resumes soon, and then you had a timer down at the bottom, right? I'm pretty sure, and I may be misremembering things, but I'm pretty sure that we had that even as recent as Worlds last year, right? So
Yeah,
I think that they
that.
definitely upped their game this year,
It's a whole lot of poppy, like dubsteppy music.
which some people can hate on, but whatever.
I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying it's just like it's just all you hear. Like especially when I was sitting there like, am I at a rave? Like where the hell are my glow sticks?
But music choices aside, the big thing that they filled that dead space with was they had interviews, and I'll get to that in a second. They had videos, pre-recorded videos.
Last year too at nationals.
Yes, they had certain interviews with players and people walking around, and they do that kind of thing. But there weren't as many as they had this year. And this year they also had like this is what VGC is. So I definitely think that Pokemon did a great job with the VGC format in short explanation. And I have to apologize to Nostrum. Other people may know him as Scott Glaza, but Nugget Bridge is Nostrum, NB Nostrum, Scott Glaza. However you know him, that recording was super campy. It was like a local commercial, and I said that to him. I said it on Twitter. I tagged him in it. So I'm not saying this behind his back. I told him that it sounded like a local commercial. But here's the thing. I loved that. I loved that feel because at least it was an attempt at personality. You know, there was some sort of something that Pokemon was trying to go for, and I think it was great to explain to like the trading card community that doesn't totally understand what VGC is. I think it was great to explain it to the casual fans who don't know how that battle format works. I think it was also good for maybe even the Smogonites, where the singles tournaments, they're not as big. And so before I go into the next thing that I like, the big thing that I really hate, I disagree wholeheartedly with making the World Championships of Pokemon. I fundamentally disagree with that being Swiss. Fundamentally. I think it's a completely wrong format. I think that what you end up doing is, for the competitors that aren't going to make it, you end up with far too many battles for them, and you're just wearing down people, making them go through too many hoops, trying to get...
But that's why you could drop out, though.
Right. But if you drop out, as you've said, that ruins somebody else for dropping out. So you punish other people by dropping out yourself. Right?
Yeah, but like for instance, like Paul, like not Paul Chua, but I forgot who the hell went like Ofer. Like it would save them time for going Ofer though. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that's not helping that other person out. You're going
right.
Ofer. Like it doesn't matter. Like the idea, as much as I hate Swiss, the idea of Swiss and like the what you call it, the opponent like win percentage. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sucks. I've bubbled out 3 times because of that.
Here's Will in a nutshell. If anybody's seen The Matrix here, which I think most people have because it's a classic movie. If you haven't seen The Matrix, go watch The Matrix. I think Will has taken the blue pill or had the Kool-Aid. Will has taken the Kool-Aid of Swiss.
How? I'm okay with it. I'm completely okay with it. Like, what do you want? Like a giant freaking bracket and people just get out?
No. All right, so here's the deal.
Let me ask you a question real quick. I'm still fairly new to the VGC format.
Right.
How many competitors are in the first Swiss rounds?
So with Worlds had 78 total competitors, so we can call it 80, right? Mm-hmm. Worlds had 80 competitors. Now, what I wanted to get at with Swiss rounds is really good at doing a couple things. Okay, Swiss rounds are really good at taking a large amount of people and in relatively few rounds based on the number of people, sorting everything out and making the cream rise to the top, right? So the way that the theory of Swiss rounds is the better players will kind of filter toward the top, and they will keep playing until they weed each other out in sort of a pseudo bracket type of sort of situation, right? So your better players will be playing against better players, and it'll all sort itself out in a relatively easy format, not as complicated as a bracket. It makes it a lot nicer because all you have to have are even numbers. As long as you've got an even number of players, you can do a Swiss format. If you have a non-square of 2, like a non-factor of 2, so your 2s, your 4s, your 8s, your 16s, 32, 64, everything up there. If you have anywhere between 32 and 64, you have almost that many buys every round until you start factoring everything out. So the nice thing about Swiss rounds is you've got fewer buys. If you have 79 players, you have one person out of the entire tournament that has a bye. As opposed to a bracket system where if you have, I don't even know, like 63 players, then if you're trying to do it,
I think the way they have it, it works out fine.
It works out fine, but here's my gripe, okay? I think it works out fine for a PC, your local tournaments, right? Where it's an open bracket, where you have anybody allowed to go, all right? Where you have no idea what the skill level of these people are. It works for something like nationals even, all right? Well, not nationals necessarily, but regionals, okay? Regionals, where all you have to do to qualify for a regional tournament is show up, right? It sort of, I think it counts for like day 1 of nationals, where you kind of have an open bracket format in the beginning before you get into the invitational side. So your day 1 kind of acts as a last chance qualifier for your national tournament, right? So I think Swiss rounds work for that.
Had to play.
Huh?
Everyone had to play day 1.
Yeah, but you understand what I'm getting at. Like,
no, I get what you're saying, but the whole thing is, like, at that point, it's such a what's the term you're looking for? Like, it's such a close niche group at that point, where everybody should be able to handle whatever's coming to them, and let your best be your best at that point.
I still think that you would have better opportunity to have fewer people bubble out, or have it be less of a big deal if you did something like, let's say, FIFA World Cup, right? FIFA World Cup, you go to pool play, okay? This gets a little bit more complicated for the tournament organizers, but once you get a computer program set up, it's not that tough, right? For Worlds, this is specifically for Worlds, and this isn't an entirely fleshed out idea, so bear with me. I had this harebrained idea last night, and I had to write it all out, so I've got a huge whatever. But my big problem here, Worlds format, in the current format, because things were calculated on the resistance, right, whatever, we lost Wolf Glick, Arash Ahmadi, Blake Hopper. They all went 5-2, which was the last cut, okay? The day before, 2 days before Worlds, I was reading through Nugget Bridge. Nugget Bridge's Twitter, and this was on the 22nd, with 79 players, there'd be 3 players to bubble into final cut from 5-2. 1 or 2 of the 5-2s would miss the top 16. So that's about 12 or 13 players that had all identical win-loss ratios. 12 or 13 players that are fighting for 3 spots. And then at that point, you're basically just closing your eyes, rolling the dice.
That you're just sitting there like, you're hoping for the people that you beat to do well.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the way it kind of has to be. Like, I get the point.
Does it, though? Even no. College football. College football changed away from the BCS with strength of schedule, because
that's a broken situation still too. Because what if you're top 4? What do you freaking do? You're telling me that undefeated kid from an undefeated team like Bowling Green doesn't deserve a shot? It's not like if that's still not fixed.
I agree.
It's a half-assed idea that doesn't really work well.
But it's it's a step in the right direction. And I think pool play for Pokemon could be a step in the right direction. And like I did all the math on it, all right? So if you did a pool of 5, if you did a pool of 5 and you pulled the top 2, okay? You would have 4 matches in your pool play, and everybody would have a small break in their battling, so you'd be able to stop and have lunch at some point, which is a problem for competitors at Worlds.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you do pool play, every player, you've got pools of 5, you pull 2. And everybody gets a small break at some point. And you're still going to have basically the same number of streamable battles because you're going to have, I think it's like 6 rounds of pool play, but everybody only plays 4 times, right? So at that point, then you can pick the best two of the group of 5. Okay? That'll put you in a bracket of 32 players. You'd still have 80 players from around the world and have a bracket of 32. Okay? And if you went to a bracket of 32 with pools of 5, so 16 pools of 5 players, take the best 2, you'd have each player playing 9 rounds instead of 10. So that's only 1 game shy, but you've got better breaks. You've got 32 players in the bracket, which means that you've got a better chance to have more variety. Now, there is still potential to bubble out. Now, the difference is that if you've got pools and you've got pool A and you've got a couple people that bubble out, right? So you've got 2 people that have the exact same win-loss percentage, right? At this point, I suggest that instead of going on your opponent's win percentage, you go on your win-loss, okay? And compare that to the other players. Because if you're playing best 2 out of 3, right, there's a chance that you 2-0. In the current format, you are not rewarded for blowing your opponent out of the water. I think that's a little unfair, that you're based on...
College football!
But, like, you are not rewarded for getting the 2-0. You are not rewarded for being that much better than your opponent. And when you end up winning, you have to rely on how well your opponent does later. And I don't think that's really fair. But I'm adopting kind of a FIFA World Cup model here, where instead of goals, it's number of wins versus number of losses, right?
And it's going to get even more complex with the number of Pokemon actually alive, and
no,
and then you get the advantage. When,
that would be like the second tiebreaker, maybe, but that sort of thing's well.
Just thinking about with your pool brackets, say you have 5 teams in your bracket. You said, right?
Yep, 5 players in a bracket, and then you pull 2.
We'll say that 1 goes undefeated,
right?
And 2 go 4, or I guess it'd be 3-1.
3-1. Yep. And then you have 2 players that go basically completely defeated.
Yeah, and say those 2 both only lost to the guy, obviously, that went undefeated. Mm-hmm. For those 2, since they would have lost to the same person, well, I guess that can't really happen, can it?
No, it can.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I pulled up spreadsheets and I did all of the working out. So you are totally right. You can have up to 3 people go 3-1, but you would have to have 2 people go 0-4. So the way that it would have to go...
well, but you can't have 1 person go undefeated and have 2 people go...
No, they go 2-2. 2-2 is how it works.
Okay, then we'll say that they go 2-2.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to the same people and they won against the same people.
Right. If they got a 2-0 in one of those matches and the other person did not...
Well, I'm saying, like, say for some reason that for that second spot out of the... they have to battle each other again, so that way they can't...
Not necessarily, because, again, the tiebreaker could have been who won in that matchup, because they had to play each other at some point in that pool play. So then you'd go to the head-to-head, which they'd already done, and who won that. So if you've got an identical ranking, so the person who won that battle just goes through. I mean, that could just be as simple as that. If you've got an identical score, right, if you've got an identical win-loss, then you just go to the head-to-head, and whoever won out of the 2 of them wins. Now, that's technically still bubbling out. But if you've got, let's say, one player bubbling out from 16 places, but it's split up into this is your pool play, these are the 2 players that made it, it's
So
not
for
as obvious.
they have it then.
But it's not as obvious psychologically seeing a list of 10 people that didn't make it all in one line. It's one big block of all the people that didn't make it because they had an identical win-loss. But if you've got one here and one down here and one over here and another one here and another one here, it may be the same number of players that bubble out, but it's not as prominent on the final sheet, right?
So pretty much what you're saying is what they're doing is just in a bigger bracket.
I'm suggesting pool play before you go to bracket.
No, not bracket, but whatever. Like a flight. It's a bigger freaking like.
Yeah, it's a bigger
pool.
number of flights. Yes, essentially.
That's all you really do. You're suggesting.
I'm suggesting round robin instead of Swiss. So pool play, round robin instead of Swiss for Worlds. Again, for Worlds, where you all gotten a World Championship invite, you are all presumed to be at the top level. I'm not suggesting this for Nationals. I'm not suggesting this for Regionals. I'm not suggesting this for PCs. Just Worlds. I think this would be a better format.
But like I said, like the Hong Kong dude was garbage. Like he didn't deserve a place in there. They just got
Then
in.
he'd 0-4. He would 0-4 in his pool.
Like stuff like that. Like doesn't matter. Dude's gonna pull out. And yeah, I mean, like realistically, people do want to see how good their like national hero does. You know what I mean? Like it's not fair to that person.
Why? Why isn't it fair to that
Because
person?
like realistically, like in that situation, it's like a country's actually watching Pokemon to see their dude play. They don't want to see him just play 4 games.
But at the World Championship level, I think that it's more acceptable. Okay, the Swiss, again, the things that the Swiss does well.
I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. You're not.
I know, but the biggest thing that the Swiss format does for something like a regional tournament or a PC is that it gives all your lower skilled players the ability to play more games. Because it's really disheartening for somebody who's just gotten into VGC to go into their first tournament and go 0-2 and have to leave, or go 0-1 and have to leave. So the Swiss format works really well for the low-level tournaments, but if you are at the top level, if you go into, let's say, the NBA finals, the professional finals, and you go out, you don't make it out of pool play, yes, you're going to be disappointed, but you're not going to cry and quit Pokemon because you went 0-4 at a tournament and had to drop out.
But what about those dudes that rally up though? Like there's been dudes like if you read anything,
there's no way that you're going to go 0-4.
No, I'm talking about
your
like,
first 4 matches.
No, I'm talking about dudes that go like 0-2 and they just make the cut. You know what I mean? Like that happens a lot in these things.
Well, I mean that's still possible in pool play, but
so what you say? No, because at that point it's like
I'm suggesting that we make it so that we can get a bigger bracket and we get rid of Swiss because it's a long string of back-to-back battles with 0 breaks for the players.
Are you sure about that? Because every Swiss thing I've been to, the bigger tournaments,
World Championships had no break for lunch.
Smoke a cigarette.
No break for lunch.
15, 20 minutes to smoke a break at regionals and everything. Like I don't get why people are like, oh, blah blah. Like yeah, they have you handcuffed there, but you also got to remember there's that one jerk that's timer stalling. There's always that one jerk timer stalling.
Yeah, but
i.e. Avos.
Hey, listen, I did that to Steven Morioka once, okay?
Okay, so can we go into the seniors now? Because this is
hold on. I have to say one more thing because I have to make it a compliment sandwich. I say one nice thing, a mean thing, and a nice thing. The nice thing was that I think that their tournament quality, their stream production value has gone up really high. Shut up, Will. The bad thing is that I think that their tournament format sucks right now, and I think that it's easily changed, and I think that there's a way to do it. The nice thing that I'd like to kind of sandwich this with is fan service, and I think that whether this was the production team, whether this was Pokemon Company actually intentionally doing this, or if it was the commentators and the hosts that did this for the community, I loved the fact that our random fans were content creators from the community. The shout-outs to Maryland, Glitch, Magnitude, and I can't even remember who else was there, but I remember Glitch, Magnitude, and Maryland being taken on stream. And there was even a shout-out to Shady Penguin's little brother, Game Boy Luke, with the Rotom shirts, and I know that they picked those out to give Game Boy Luke a little bit of notoriety there. But like that fan service, I think Pokemon gave us as people in the community, I think that gave us a huge nod. Like, listen, these are the people that have been keeping us relevant. These are the people that have been making you entertained with our content. Now we're going to bring them on stream to show them off and kind of parade them around so that you know that we support the things that you guys like too. And I loved that.
I think one thing that shows that Pokemon accepts what like Shady Penguin and even Jay Flynn, because they had Jay Flynn at Worlds last year doing that sort of thing. You know, he was one of the commentators last year.
Right.
Is that they have those guys coming to be a part of the cast, you know. Mm-hmm. They're going, like, they can just use Scott Glaza and
Evan Latt,
whatever Dewey, whatever.
Dweeha.
And he's nice as hell.
I love Dweeha.
I mean, he's obviously smart. You know, he's smart. Mm-hmm. He knows what he's talking about when he's talking about, you know, what's going on with the battles and everything. But I think you need that personality of Shady and Jay Flynn in there to kind of keep more people excited about what's going on.
Right.
Not just having one person speak in a monotone voice all the time.
And I want to give a huge shout out to the commentation team for staying excited and hyped throughout all of the monotony of the finals for Masters, because it's the job of the commentators to not mention how boring this is. It is the job of the commentators to make things exciting, and they did a great job. I am unfortunately immune to that, but I practically fell asleep during finals, the finals. But regardless,
I was actually there, and it was not hype at all.
I mean, I had a friend here I had the Twitch cast on my big screen TV because I'm cool like that now, and he heard him yelling about something when I was in the bathroom. He was like, "Man, you'd think they were winning the national championship in football the way they're talking about stuff."
Right.
I was like, "Yeah, but this is a little bit boring compared to the last one." So.
Oh yeah.
Which I hopefully does segue into what we're going to talk to next. But no, like all the UK people for the seniors.
Yep.
They were there. They were representing their country. Mm-hmm. They were watching the kid, and they were freaking yelling, rallying for the kid. And on top of that, he was a little bit of a showman, which I liked.
Yeah. All right. So before we get too far into that, Will, I know. I want to.
No one cares about Masters. It was terrible. We know.
No, we're done with Masters. All right, we're done with Masters. We are completely done with Masters. We're done with my frustration with Masters. I want to continue on to seniors, but I also want to take a quick break before we do it. And then I think we can close off with call-ins. If anybody wants to call in, ! Call in, and you can be part of the call. Whatever, I don't know. Whatever. You can be part of the call and join in and yell at us and ask us questions. If you've got any questions, if you've got any comments, long-time listener, first-time caller, you can be that guy. Just ! Call in. Nightbot should give you that form so you can sign up. And so I'd like to wrap up with juniors, and I'd like to wrap up with call-ins. And then I think there's one more thing that I wanted to talk about, but I don't remember what it is. We'll remember it when we get back from the break. So I want to take a quick break real quick, and we'll be right back.